doing, Steve Kim here. So excited. Steve Kim Show episode number 228. The much anticipated January stats are in, and as usual, I got your numbers and your stats as they pertain to the detached and townhome markets for both Toronto and pockets of the GTA. So let's get right into the numbers. So that average detached property in Toronto back in December 2022 was trading just over $1.63 million. Fast forward into January 2023 is now hovering around $1.5 million. Richmond Hill, what happened? That average detached property went from $1.93 million trading on average in December up to $1.95 into January. Markham, we went from $1.79 million into December down to $1.66 into January. In Vaughan, we saw an average detached property to December trade around $1.95, now down to about $1.8 million. Now, don't forget, it's not saying that all detached properties, if we take a look at these big markets, some of the neighborhoods have been performing very, very well. We've actually seen a year-over-year price increase for certain detached properties in certain neighborhoods in these municipalities. Now, months of inventory, this is supply and demand. We know in a balanced market, we have around 4 to 5 months of inventory in a balanced market. And what that means is if I took all the buyers looking for a property right now in a balanced market, 4 to 5 months of inventory, I could find them a home in 4 to 5 months. So take a look at this. Detached properties in Toronto from December to January, months of inventory went from 2.7 to 2.7. So still very much a seller's market. Now, when I say seller's market, a lot of people think of that frenetic bidding wars, hundreds of thousands over asking. That's not necessarily the case. It's just there isn't enough inventory right now to meet buyer demand. Now, that being said, buyer demand, they're just taking a little bit longer to proceed forward with the purchase of a property. So that inventory is staying pretty tight for the detached segment in Toronto. Richmond Hill went from 2.5 months of inventory into December up to 3.1. Markham, we went from 2.3 months of inventory down to 2.1 into January. And in Vaughan, we went from 3.1 months of inventory up to 3.2 months of inventory. So still very much in these areas, there isn't a lot of inventory in terms of detached homes. Now, townhomes, the average price of a townhome in Toronto in December went from $1.08 million up to $1.33 million. So a $250,000 increase month over month for an average townhome in Toronto, something to pay attention to. Richmond Hill, we went from $1.16 million in December down to $1.15, so not much of a change from December to January for townhomes in Richmond Hill. Markham, we went from $1.18 million up to $1.22, and in Vaughan, we went from $1.1 million for an average townhome in December down to $1.06 million into January. Now, months of inventory, pay attention to this. We went from 1.6 months of inventory December for townhomes in Toronto up to 3 months in January. In Richmond Hill, we went from 2.9 months of inventory December down to 1.4 months of inventory into January for townhomes. So if you've been looking for a townhome in Richmond Hill, you've absolutely experienced multiple offer situations right now. Markham similarly went from 1.08 months of inventory into December up to 2.2, so doubled the inventory. And in Vaughan, we went from 2.5 up to 2.8 months of inventory for townhomes. Now, year-over-year price changes. This is really important to pay attention to. That average detached property in Toronto back in January 2022 was trading at $1.89 million. Like I shared with you right now, it's hovering around $1.5 million, so that average detached property in Toronto has actually dropped by 26.8%. York Region, what happened? That average detached property in York Region back in January 2022 was trading around $1.94 million. Into January 2023 is now trading around $1.63 million. That's about a 19% decrease year over year for an average detached property in York Region. Anyways, I hope you found these numbers and the stats useful. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to give me a call, send me a text, shoot me over a DM or an email. As always, 𝗙𝗘𝗏𝗏. Take care.